Welcome back to Switch to Linux. We are doing a test stream here. We are testing out alternative internet using Starlink, and we are testing out a microphone system just in the event my major professional one goes belly up. And so far though, Starlink is dropping a lot of frames. We have the bandwidth, but for whatever reason, I'm not sure. So the number is going down, so I think it's stopped. Now part of this is we are also streaming with Jitsi running too, which always throws a monkey wrench into the internet. So that's why we want to test it with Jitsi too. If we can pull this off with Jitsi, Jitsi and an HD stream at the same time, we're doing okay. I'm noticing that the number of drop frames has not fallen, and that's actually kind of almost what I expected with Starlink. My initial tests of Starlink, it will, when it first starts a connection, it will it'll take a little bit while to get there, but then it holds it pretty good. So you notice running speed tests on Starlink, it starts slow and then it ramps up, and so I'm expecting it will do a little bit better. So right now, OBS is giving me, it's still giving me about the 5K I need for uploading in HD. But it will teeter down a little bit. And I moved to a spot where I have a perfectly good view of the sky. Starlink is not obstructed in any way. So I'm not sure exactly, I mean, hopefully this is a decent, viable option for internet. But in my testing, I can upload pretty good. Let me check my dish alignments. Not bad. And obstruction is definitely good, and I think most of those red dots are because we were testing it yesterday under a tree. So I did test out Starlink up on top of a mountain with very sub-ideal conditions, and I got decent enough internet to do basic work, which is good. But for the people that have been telling me for a while, you know, because I'll find one or two dead spots with no cellular internet, people are like, just get Starlink. Not necessarily a perfectly viable option all the time. We're still dropping some frames. Not as many as we were, but it looks like we're stable now. But I've left the dish on for about an hour and a half just to make sure it stabilizes the best. But not horrible, but not what I would rely on permanently for my main internet. I don't know, Ivan, what are your thoughts?
It's looking pretty good from my end, and then okay. I don't have any complaints with it either.
Okay, so I guess let us know in the comments if you're seeing any drop frames, lagging, anything like that. Of course, the next thing I need to do is replace that light, the one I recommended to you. Mine's not doing well right now.
Yeah. I mean, I will come across an occasional pause that lasts about 3 or 4 seconds tops.
Mm-hmm. So right now, my OBS signal is into the yellow, but it's still going. So this last speed test I ran was pushing about 100 down and only about 25 up. So 25 up, we're perfectly fine. On a cellular connection, I can stream HD with 7 up. And so why we're not getting a perfectly consistent system with a Starlink with a 20 up is a little concerning. But hey, it would work. And if I had to, I could always roll back the streams to 720p as well. Because we are getting definitely enough for a consistent 720p upload. In fact, there might still be the option over here to give them live, real-time feedback. Streaming video, I don't know. Like web browsing was definitely yes. Video calls, I think we're fine. Online game, I'm going to leave blank. I'm going to leave a no. I'm going to tell them 20% drop frames. 20% dropped frames. This leads us to another one of the issues. Is, of course, you need to manage everything with a phone. They used to have a way in the Starlink dish where you could go into the web browser and type in the IP address for the router and control a bunch of things. They've taken all that out. We can see our alignments. We can do, you can just kind of see which direction you might want to tilt the dish to align it, but you can't actually make any adjustments. Everything's got to be through the app, and the app does require the Google Play services. So I'm running it on a spare Graphene OS phone I had here, and I just installed the Sandbox Google Play services, installed the Aurora store, and downloaded the Starlink app from that. And that works perfectly fine, so I'm not super concerned. That brings us to the next fun question. I just saw about it, didn't get a chance to read yet. Just a heads up, and we'll be researching it for a video probably sometime this week or next week. Graphene OS and all other Android-based open source projects might go away. Google has stopped publishing Android open source project files with Android 16. That's what I'm seeing right now. I've not.
Yeah, that seems kind of something to keep an eye on.
Yep, so we'll look into that a little bit further. No one's on. Greetings. Hello to you, Logan Kaival. Hello to you, Commodore Fan. Greetings. Commodore Fan is seeing a little bit of stuttering watching at work. Sorry if I'm not particularly chatty. That's cool. Yeah, we're still about 20% drop frame rate. My upload actually just hit the red, but it hits the red and then it comes back. So it'll stream, and I think it'd be a lot better if I weren't also running Jitsi, because Jitsi just does not have a lot of control over what we can do. I can't drop down to 720p while we're already streaming. Ping and latency, I don't know. I specifically went to a spot with absolutely no obstructions. I have a beautiful view of a lake right here, and the satellite, the northeastern sky where the Starlink likes to point, is right over the lake. So there, I have no obstructions where I'm at. And there's a kayaker out there on the lake. Ooh, it looks peaceful. There were some fishermen over there when I first got here. Yeah. Beautiful lake, though. Beautiful lake. Calms the soul. Calms the soul, indeed. All right, we got 12 currently watching on Zootubies. We got 5 currently watching over on Odyssey. No one's chatting over there, though, that I can see. And we got 5 over on Rumble, also not chatty over there. Let's go ahead and have a look. All right.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect there to be a lot of folks on today. At this time today.
Yeah, like if I were more consistent with running streams during the day, we might have more. But just to, and that was kind of what I anticipated. I just wanted to get a spot where I could do a test stream, see if if my microphone went belly up, could I run? I know I can with the computer, so I didn't test the new computer, the alternate computer, because we've done that before.
Right.
So I guess let's pivot into the van life type side that we wanted to chat about. The 2 biggest problems I've had, of course, if you follow the channel for a while, is sometimes we land in a spot without internet. So that's what the Starlink dish is here to test. So I have a Starlink Mini, and yesterday, I should have grabbed the photos from it. They're over on Matrix, but I mounted a power and data pass-through cable through the roof of the van. So after 4 years, I was drilling holes in the roof of my van again. Pass those cables down through, and so now what I can do is I have a magnetic mount for the Starlink, so I can go up and just set it up on the roof, plug everything in, and I added a nice new toggle switch over onto my panel display over here, so I can hit that, turn the power button on, and run it off of my main battery. So the downsides of Starlink, of course, it does take a lot of power. It is, in fact, let's see what it's using right now. The cool thing about the app is it does give us a lot of information. So right now it is actually using 26 watts. It's using currently right now 30 watts of power with an average of 26. Now for comparison, my cellular internet, when I'm using that uses I think 4 or 5 watts. So we're talking 5 to 10 times more power than the cellular internet. And for a person that unfortunately has to live online a lot, I can't run a Starlink dish all day, every day. But it is useful if I can get enough work done or have some things to kick it on, do some things I need to do, and kick it off. That works great. And so that certainly is an issue. The other downside is it does need a very clear view of the sky. And I'm in this state called Pennsylvania, which is named for William Penn. If you don't know the history of Pennsylvania, William Penn was a Quaker. He found this land. He's like, oh, this is a cool block of woods. And of course, Sylvania is the Latin word for forest. So it's called William Penn's Forest. So which tells you there's a lot of trees here, and trees seriously get in the way of Starlink. So East Coast, Starlink is not going to be nearly as useful as West Coast, where the trees go down in size and quantity. Cross that Mississippi, trees get smaller. So as I make my journeys out west, especially this trip out west this year, I'm planning on going to places that have no cellular signals. So grabbing the Starlink dish was good. I used the Roam plan, which allows me to get 50 gigabytes of data for $50. But I can also turn on and turn off billing. So if I know I'm not going to use it for a month, I can just turn the whole thing off for a month. So that's a cool thing. But I do have multiple ways of powering the system. I picked up a new power brick that allows me to run the Starlink for 3 hours off of just a DC power brick. Of course, I can run it through the Jackeries or any of the other portable systems. But the second issue I've dealt with in van life has been power in the dead of the winter. From around Thanksgiving to about 3 weeks after the new year, the sun is at this weird angle. You don't get a lot of power. I draw in on a bright, sunny, not a cloud in the sky day, only about 900 watts of power. That is a problem. So I picked up a massive Jackery battery, which if I remember I was talking about it, I would have brought it over. It is actually 50% of my onboard van capacity, and it has a separate standalone solar system, solar panel system. So that means I should be able to hopefully get about 1.5 to 2 times what I was getting, which will give me enough power to run in that period of time that I need to run. So hopefully those two things solves the power and the internet issue, and we'll see what that looks like moving forward. So there's that. I don't know, any other thoughts on power or internet, Ivan?
Not really. I mean, it's like I don't have to worry about it being in a stationary spot like this, but you know, all of this funky stuff and everything. But yeah, it's like, when on the move, it's like you really have to be on it. And and it's like when you were talking about your 4 to 5 watts versus 26, 27, it's like, that is a considerable difference. So it's like, the Starlink, it'd be good for like you were talking about, something short, quick, relatively blah blah blah, but not for extended durations. That's for sure.
Yeah, and there's certainly some travel channels that use Starlink as their main internet. They're not people that run a web business and multiple YouTube channels and basically lives on the internet, which maybe is another problem we need to solve. Maybe we need to do less stuff. But
I haven't watched one channel and stuff like that, but they take it to, I can't say extreme, but they take it to, this is our lifestyle, and they're driving around in a Class A RV. So it's basically glamping and the whole spiel of stuff like that. I mean, they were talking about Buc-ee's and how much that place is like awesomely evil.
Oh, it's Buc-ee's this first year I went through Buc-ee's was this year, and I gotta say it was good. I mean, it's not like I'm not a full-fledged Buc-ee's cult member. I mean, I have no Buc-ee's paraphernalia other than I grabbed the refrigerator magnet because fun, quirky thing. The only thing I collect, the only clutter I have is these refrigerator magnets from everywhere. Unfortunately, that means I have about 500 of them.
Yes.
I can cover 5 or 6 refrigerators with refrigerator magnets, but. I grabbed that because I always grab refrigerator magnets. I got some brisket sandwiches and stopped by there a couple times. They are really good gas stations. If you need gas, they're usually the cheapest in the area. And their food is really good. This year, if I pass a Buc-ee's, I will definitely maybe buy some fudge as well. Maybe buy some more Buc-ee's beef jerky. And actually, I did get a friend of mine some hot sauce because he likes using hot sauce stuff. And it was really good. So,
gotta love that jerky wall.
Yeah, absolutely. I got photos of the jerky wall. A couple more comments over on Rumble7 watching over there. American Legend, greetings, Mark. How's it going there? Got that deep choke building again. There you go. Low Spec Linux Gaming, greetings to you. How are you doing? Got the Penguin, got the Atari controller. Love it. Can't come at the moment, unfortunately. Got no audio and something else I just forgot. Uh-oh. Don't have the card yet. Been waiting for a replacement card from your bank. How do I? So nasty issues with virtual machines, both Virtual Manager and VirtualBox. I've had some more recent issues with VirtualBox. But it might have just been not as much system updates as I probably should do. In fact, I noticed was it last week or earlier this week, I did the video looking at Linux Mint updates and upgrades. Originally, I was going to do that on the MSI laptop, but that's still running the 20 branch, which just reached end of life. So I'm like, yeah, I can't do a video about how to do those. So I actually did it on the Ryzen laptop, which I always keep the Ryzen laptop on Edge, and I always keep the MSI laptop on the oldest supported version. So I do have to roll it up to the 21 branch. Maybe I'll do that soon, since that reached end of life. That'd make a good video. So we'll do that. And I haven't had as many problems with the virtual machine since then. So I think some of the issues I've had have been that. I've found boxes works really well across the board. So I always have boxes installed for running virtualization of Linux distros. And hopefully with the Starlink, I can get back to more Linux distros as I have more internet bandwidth to work with. So right now, I think I've used about half of my bandwidth right now. For the month, and we're about halfway through the month, and that's just been testing. Like, was it Saturday? I drove on top of a mountain. There's not a cell tower in sight, and I pulled off from this thing. I think I put pictures up there, right, on Matrix. Put pictures on Matrix of it. Oh, I just threw the Starlink dish out there, and I got a chance to watch some videos and do some work in places I've never gotten a chance to do work before. It was really fun. Let's see. It's really calming down.
You did put a screenshot of the signal quality.
Oh no! I also put it was on Saturday night, I think. I had a wide angle view because I had everything still open. I had the door open, and you could see out the rolling hills, and then out the front, I had the Starlink dish just sitting on the dash of the van. Yeah. That picture there. I should have pulled these pictures up before I started. Fortunately, I have good enough OPSEC. I don't have access to all that stuff on my streaming computer. It only does videos and streaming. So. Use the built-in security system. Screw the AI. Yeah, the AI security solution sounds like an AI anti-security solutions. Big old batteries are still recovering from winter. Now I can use more panel. Yeah, so I did get the battery I got was the Jackery Explorer 1000 V2. And if you go back to some of the earlier videos where I was traveling around, I wasn't as keen on the Jackeries because they had a really old battery technology. They were using lithium ion batteries, where the best commercial batteries were the lithium iron phosphates. So the new versions of Jackeries have the new lithium iron phosphates, but they also were extraordinarily slow to charge. Even plugging them into a wall would take all day to charge, even a small one. These new ones charge fast. This one, if it's empty, can charge on an AC outlet in about 3 hours, which is really good. And the sale I got with the Jackery also came with a 200-watt solar panel, which I still stand behind are overpriced. Jackery solar panels are way overpriced, but getting them at the deal I got them is really good. The solar panel can charge the Jackery. I think it would take 5 hours to charge it completely full under ideal conditions if it were empty. I'll usually run my Jackery down to about 50% and then charge it back up. I should probably run it down to 30% before I charge it, but it's a lithium iron phosphate, so it's better at cycling than they have been in the past. But yeah, so more panels, more batteries. Hopefully this year will be fun. Last year, after last year's trip, I was rethinking this whole van life thing. I was thinking I should get off the road, but I think that's just because Florida sucks for van life, and we had other issues. So
yeah, get enough stuff up on the roof and stuff like that. It's going to start looking like Ecto 1.
Yeah. That's why the Starlink dish is not permanently mounted on the roof. I can throw it up on the roof. I could even drive with it where it is, how it is. That magnet is strong, but it's not. I put it up there just as a good, convenient place to mount it, but I also have everything I need to mount it on a camera stand. I have 50-foot Ethernet cables if I want to feed it into my network from 50 foot out the van doors. I have power cables that support those different distances. So there's a lot of cool options there. So
yeah.
Been hell for 3 weeks. So much time lost, energy thrown off the rails. Oh man, that's not good. You'll have to join us sometime, Mark. Mark, I think tonight we'll be doing an off-air hangout. We will still do that tonight. We will do an off-air hangout for the supporters. Mark, come on by, man. Vent your digital frustrations to us. We will be glad to hear you and lend an ear. All right. I think I'm done. 0 days. To be damned. Eventually Windows gets good enough to guard. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Cool Coco fan, or Coccolino fan? Is that it over there? Greetings. Let's jump back on over to YouTube. $5 super chat. Thank you, Commodore fan. Can't do much right now. Dental bills, more to come, but hope this helps. Awesome. Yes, I will pick up some coffee. Yes, upcoming travel. Speaking of that, we are getting into our dead zone. Next week, expect a little bit of a lull in videos. Next week, early next week, I will go to, I'm heading back up to Erie area. I'll be teaching at a conference in Meadville next week for a couple of days. And then I think Wednesday through Saturday is our conference schedule. And then I'm going to disappear into the mountains middle of next week, and I'll be back in State College for 1 week, and then we go to Virginia for, no, wait, hold on. No, I go back into Western PA, possibly. We have a camp out there, but we only had 2 kids registered so far for that one. It's a brand new camp we're trying out. We only had 2 kids registered, and I think we need at least like 10 to run it well. I think 12 to reach break-even point. So we'll decide next week if we're actually running it. If that one goes, I'm doing that one, so we'll have a week off there. And then I come back for a week, and then I go to Virginia for 3 weeks. And two of those 3 weeks is camps. So we will be really, really busy doing that. 7 Brew Coffee next few days. My mother's work won a local Christian radio conference. Got a bunch of their coffee. 7 Brew, how is their coffee? If their coffee's really good, I might. Let's see. 5G internet is better when possible. I'm seeing over a gig down from T-Mobile at home. Yeah. I don't really want to run a speed test right now because that will potentially destabilize everything. Yeah. Our total drop frame rate has dropped to 12%, so it's not horrible, although the drop frame rate is still going up periodically. But it's doing a little bit better. Ultrich friend of the family that are glampers with more than $1 million Provost RV does the same porta potties. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So that's good. And let's see if there's anything else there. Skip all mine. Way too much to read. All right. We do have one more specific topic that we want to get into, and we'll go ahead and roll into that. And then we'll just kind of hang out until the comments die away, and then we'll wrap it up. I'd say we had overall a successful test. I think we'll, if we need to run off a Starlink, or maybe we'll try a stream eventually without Jitsi running too, see what that does. And then we'll also possibly, if I have to, drop down to 720p again for streaming. But I shouldn't have to, but I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, we did want to talk about Linux Mint. So let's go ahead and start on that. We're going to record this part. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. I'm joined by Ivan today, and Linux Mint has released a new blog post, and I always love covering these when they come out. And so I wanted to talk about what is going on. The first is, of course, Mint 20X is reached end of life. So I was commenting on this on the earlier part of the live stream where we're recording this, that my old MSI computer is now at 20.3. Like, oh, I got to go end of life. I was planning on using that one to do those Linux Mint videos I did a couple weeks ago, but yeah, I had to switch over. So 20.3 did reach end of life in May. So I will actually be upgrading that from the 20.3 up to the 21. Stay tuned for a video on that. We're not rolling that all the way to the latest, as I keep the MSI laptop as old as is supported, and I keep my other laptops as new as is supported, just so I always have good test Linux Mint laptops running. But that has reached end of life. They will continue to work, but without security updates. Think Windows 10 in October, you know. You can still use it. You shouldn't. Okay. So they have, they say there's a couple options. You can do a fresh installation. They always recommend the fresh installation. There was actually an issue that a couple issues that some people had noticed when you were rolling from older versions, rolling up into the newer versions. You always get a little bit better results when you install a brand new one from scratch, but there's reasons you may not want to do that. There's settings you might have. There's a bunch of files you might have. There's a lot of reasons you may not want to do that. So I understand that, but just something to keep in mind. That is, of course, 22.1 is supported until 2029. That should be 1 year after Oh Sweet Meteor of Doom Apophis lands into the ocean, but we'll see. You can upgrade through Linux Mint 21. That'll get you support through 2027, so 2 more years. So they do have some tutorials there. And we will talk about upgrading from 20.3. We're going to roll up to the 21 branch, probably 21.3, and then hold it there for a little bit. So I will talk a little bit about that. There are other minor upgrades towards 20.3 that are simple and fast. Upgrading from 20.3 to 21 is a major upgrade. It's longer, more complicated. Take your time on it. Don't hesitate to ask. So I will be doing that particular video there. Hopefully we'll be successful. We'll see what happens. Ivan, thoughts on Linux Mint end of life, or hey, maybe if you want to throw something in there about Windows end of life. What do you think?
Well, Linux end of life, it's just that branch, just that 20 branch. It's like you were saying. Yeah, you could still use it, but it's not going to get any security updates, stuff like that. It's much like with everything with Windows. After Windows 10 goes out, what was it, October 14th or something like that? Yeah, you could still use it, but you're not going to get any updates unless you do that extended support program or whatever the thing, and then you throw in the extra money and stuff like that. It's like, on the Linux side, it's like there's really no excuse to upgrade stuff like that. Granted, if you don't have the hardware capabilities of it, namely the space for any additional files or anything like that, but it's like, why it should be a no-brainer. It's just kind of like, you do it. Whereas on the Windows side of it, it's like, you could be it's a process to get something running. Stuff like that. So you can keep it, you can reinstall it. Of course, with Linux, it's pretty easy. You can just take your home folder and copy your home folder over, reinstall it, and then just migrate your home folder back over onto the new system. So we'll talk about those different options when we get into that. All right, the next one, the controversial one possibly, depending on what you think about this stuff. Fingerprint
we're doing
authentication.
This afternoon?
Yep, right now. Linux Mint is doing fingerprint authentication in Linux Mint 22.2. Will feature a new app called FingWit. It is a fingerprint configuration tool that if your computer has a fingerprint scanner, you can now use your fingerprints to authenticate. Ooh!
I actually have one that has one.
Yeah, how's it work for you?
It don't. That's the problem. Well, that isn't a problem. That's, I could care less.
Yeah. So there was an old application for on Linux Mint that allowed you to do this, but they have replaced this with FingWit, which is a lot more smarter configuration tool. As you can see from the the screen here, it has a way to choose which fingerprint you want to do. If you want to give the whole middle finger to the big tech with fingerprint scanners, you can do that. But you can choose which finger you're going to be indexing. And this system here allows you to authenticate your system into a log screen, get it past the screensaver, do sudo commands, and some admin checks. Now they're using this particular tool here because it is, this one here is a lot smarter than the older one. For example, if you have a full disk encryption, it cannot unlock a full disk encryption, and so it will not let you use a fingerprint to log in that situation because the eCryptFS still requires a password.
Fingers.
So what we're trying to do here is give you more options, bring Linux Mint into this for the people that want these more modern features. Now, I have not evaluated, it should be, being Linux Mint, it should be extraordinarily safe, should keep everything on the system. But I am not the end user of this, but I can understand where some people might want this type of thing. It could be very easy to scan your fingerprint instead of entering a pseudo password for doing basic things. Even if the only case you might think about it is if you are encrypting the disk, you still need your master password to get in, and then you can use your fingerprint for everything once you are there. That's kind of what they're working on. All right, Ivan, thoughts?
Yeah, it's like I appreciate the idea to go forward with something like this, and I know that it's got its use case for the right people. And for myself, it's not for me. I don't really need it. I don't want it. I'm not going to bother with it. But for the folks that could actually have a good usable use case for it, hey, being Linux Mint, it's like you were saying, it's a lot safer being Linux Mint in particular. And it's like, yeah, mainly it's like if any kind of source file regarding the data from the print is strictly local in the OS on the system right there at your desk, I don't see any really big problem in using it. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't, but that's just me. But yeah, if people want to use it, go ahead and use it and stuff like that. It's not for everybody, myself included, but for others, it might be something that's viable, and they might actually be interested, curious. I might play around with it.
This is not unlike they do the fingerprinting on phones, which in reality is not moving up into the big cloud as far as we know. I just still don't want to use biometrics, especially since we know in the force of law that a PIN number still is not something that you can guarantee somebody can extract from you to unlock a device, whereas a fingerprint is codified in law that yes, you can be mandated to hand over biometrics to enter a device, whereas you cannot be required to hand over a PIN to get into a device. Right. Dan, any thoughts on fingerprints in Linux Mint?
Well, first of all, if you're encrypting your drive and there's people that want to get past that, I don't think it's a good idea for that, especially if you want to keep all your fingers.
Well, again, in this particular implementation on Linux Mint, they do not have a way that you can decrypt your drive with your fingerprint. You still have to use your finger. That's the point. Yeah.
If you're encrypting your drive, that makes people think that you have something to hide. So goodbye, fingers. Well,
they can take your fingers all you want. You still can't get into your drive.
Well, however, I do think it's doable if you want to use a toe.
So, I don't know.
I use a toe on one of my phones, so
that's interesting.
It does work.
Fascinating. Excuse me, I gotta log in. Do that for your conference calls, right?
Yeah, most of the time I just use the PIN number, though. It was a test. It does. Yeah. Yes, the system does work with toes, but it's not my cup of tea either. It's quicker for me to go beep beep boop boop, and I'm in whatever, Yeah. Especially a computer, I never used to, when I was on Windows. I used to never have a PIN to get into it. I just let the computer boot right into Windows and not give it a second thought. But Linux.
I think you muted yourself, Dan.
I think it's Mike.
Yeah, I think Dan's mic might have went out again.
Yep.
Well, let's know if you get it back fixed back up. So we'll move on here. Xviewer color correction. So we're working on themes and colors. Xviewer's image viewer was applying an EDID color-based correction filter to pictures and wasn't showing pictures exactly as they were. So that was a problem, of course. Feature could sometimes lead to a scenario where you could take a screenshot of an app, open the screenshot, color pick the app in the screenshot, and the app would get different color codes. That can be a problem. Maybe that's what was at one time. I was working with somebody trying to grab a color code and the colors were not lining up and it was baffling both of us. Who knows? Maybe that was it. I can't remember. I think I was on a Linux Mint computer when I did that. Who knows? Using GIMP. So color management has already handled the hardware and desktop level. We found the feature in XViewer surprising and counterintuitive. So they made it optional and to disable it by default. So that's good. We'll just go through these other ones here real quick as well before we stop again. libadwaita apps and patches, of course, starting with 22.2, libadwaita will be patched to work with system themes. So there was some back and forth with libadwaita, and there were some issues and some challenges with it. And they decided that they would go ahead and support it and just back patch it for what they needed. And so that's kind of what they decided to do. So GNOME Calendar, Simple Scan, and what is that last one? BAOBAB? I have no idea what that application is. Those are now changed to use the latest libadwaita versions there. So now they have a libadwaita fork. So they forked this out for using their own for using X apps, so they don't have to patch everything. So they can basically make libadapta is what they're doing, and they forked this out in order to basically make all the apps work utilizing that rather than having to sync all this code between the patches on libadwaita. So that is what they are doing there. So any brief commentary on those spots there? I'm not sure. Those are kind of.
Can you hear me
technical.
now?
Yeah, we got you, Dan.
My whole issue is flaky USB connections.
Yeah.
I'm caught part of the conversation, so.
All right. Well, we'll skip. That's a very technical one anyway, so we'll skip that one. Ivan, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I mean, as far as everything regarding that, we're going to libadwaita and stuff like that. I mean, for my purposes and my daily operation, stuff like that, it's really not that much of a big deal. So it doesn't really affect me all that much. I definitely appreciate the fact that they gave it attention to resolve the issues that it does affect people in a not so good way, and that they're actually trying to rectify that problem. I very much appreciate that.
Yep. Yeah, so this is good. It brings a lot of more cohesion for the people that have like OCD. Everything's got to look the same, you know?
Right, yeah.
All right, last thing that they have here is Framework, of course, Framework laptops. The company sent Clem a laptop, the latest hardware, so they could test it with gaming, desktop, things like that. So he basically just made some there and testing the full compatibility, and they were able to, it says all thanks to them that we worked on the fingerprint authentication and pushed towards the hardware kernel in Linux Mint 22.2. Mostly that a lot of this development with the fingerprint stuff came from Framework giving them access to some really good hardware. So cool for that. Then there's some good sponsors down there for it. So you can sift through all that. That is what Linux Mint is up to for the month. Any final comments on Linux Mint?
I like that they're working with Framework.
That's intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's really good because it's like, I've seen videos about the Framework modularity and stuff like that, and I actually at that time, and this is going back months at this point, but I saw that and I'm like, how would it work with Linux? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to have something Linux based in there and to see how it behaves with Linux? And of course, right off my head, Linux Mint, hello. And so I like the fact that Linux Mint is actually working with it and reviewing it and seeing how it can go.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Very good. Dan, final thoughts?
Well, I'm kind of with Ivan on this one. If they're working with Linux Mint and stuff like that, I'd rather have them work with Linux Mint than Ubuntu.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But,
especially with the whole dropping Xorg altogether soon. So
why I'm holding this up is this is a USB cable I purchased from Amazon. It's rated at 240 watts, and it is a 40 gigabyte cable, and it is so thick it's almost as thick as a pencil. You can't use it for a game controller or anything like that because this USB plug itself is not sturdy enough. It's you plug it in and hope it stays there with some hot glue. I mean, it's that.
All right, hold on. I need to wrap up this part here because we're pulling this out for separate for the video. All right, so there is what Linux Mint is up to. So we can, of course, stay tuned to their site at linuxmint.com and see what else they are up to soon. All right, now you can rant about your pencil.
Yeah, go for it.
We brought this up before about, the USB, the high power and all that other stuff. And I happened to get my hands on a couple of them. And it makes the connector itself almost inert. It unless you're going to plug it into something and leave it there forever and it never gets bumped or anything.
That's a problem. In fact, I got what's allegedly, hey, the good news is with this new microphone system is I can walk with my microphone. But I just can't hear you if you're talking to me. I'll grab the power block that I got here though, because it comes with a USB-C connection that it looks way too thin to push the power that it wants to push through. Now the thing charges on a 65 watt. This is the Ugreen power block. It is a beast. But that beast can run Starlink for 3 or 4 hours.
Right.
And so the cable they gave us to charge it with is this little tiny cable. It's so cute.
I got that, with my FinTech air compressor, a little cable like that. The air compressor will blow up many tires. It's just a little thing about this long and a cube like this. But when you plug it in, the instructions say in the book, use a USB-A charger of 2.5 amps to 3 amps. So I'm looking around here, and luckily I found a Samsung one that went to a tablet that was right in that range. But man, I run it down 1 bar, charging up 3 tires outside, and it took like an hour and a half to get that little dot on the bar back.
Yep. Let me grab the cable that came with the Pixel tablet as well, which does feel like a lot more sturdy of a cable there. So that one there is
this pencil.
Yeah.
It does not like to bend. You can feel that there is some insulation junk in there.
Yeah, it's like some cords are really good. They're nice and beefy. They've got some girth to them. They've got some good quality to them, stuff like that. And then these other ones, they're nice little weird little things.
Yeah.
This is an USB to USB cable. It's not a USB C to C cable. It's not a C to A.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So this one here, this Ugreen, it'll give you a readout of what's plugged in. Now this one here is 130 watts, so you can use both USB-C ports at the same time. Many of these will have 2 USB-C ports, but you could only use one at a time depending on what you're charging. But it tells us right now we're just charging this Pixel 6a up. That's my Starlink phone. And it tells me that at this charge rate, this block will last 7 hours. And it is pulling 9.7 watts. So really nice charging block. I think it was $80, I think, at a Best Buy. Now there's another brand, I forget the name of the other one that's really popular, but Amazon says they are actually very high return rate. So I went with this one here that hopefully will be a lot better. So
very good.
We'll see what happens there. And let me just check all my phones since I need to draw that thing down once anyway. I may as well check all my phones and see if anything else needs charged while I'm charging stuff off of this block, right?
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that block to charge it, did it give you a USB-C to USB-C or USB?
Yes. Yeah, it has a C. It has a C to. It comes with a C to C, and it allows you to. Charge, and if you plug this into a 100 watt USB-C out, it will charge itself in at 65 watts is what its charge rate is. So now it's telling me one of these is pushing out at 9.7 watts. One of these is pushing out at 16.3 watts.
You see the Hulkman jump starter I got will it'll jumpstart a diesel engine with no problem. But the charger that comes with it is a USB charger, but it's 18 volts at 8 amps, which is, to recharge it, that's silly, ridiculous power. It's not a C to C thing. It's an AC wall charging block with a cable on it with a USB-C connector.
Yeah. It's interesting. The Pixel 5 charges at about the double the rate as the Pixel 6. It could also be because the battery on the Pixel 6 is at 80 and the battery on the Pixel 5 is at 60. So that's possibly why it's doing that. But so yeah, it tells me it'll take the power block can run about 2.5 hours charging 2 Pixel phones simultaneously.
My Pixel phone, like when it's run down below 80%, it'll go into fast charging mode and it'll run it as fast as it can up to 80%.
Yep.
And then right there, it just tapers off and just slowly goes over a couple hours to 100%.
That is probably what the graphene is doing here. It's at 80%, but it's pulling in a lot less power. Just based on the statistics there. All right, let me check in on more comments over here on Zatubies. We got 21 watching on Zatubies there.
Oh, you're on the Tubies?
We're on the Tubies. Drop rate, go down.
I didn't know you were doing a Tubies thing today.
Oh yeah,
I just jumped into this from an email. I came in from.
Oh yeah, we'll
send me an email.
Oh yeah. We will be doing an off-air hangout.
You knocked me right off my kickstand.
I did. There you go. Yeah, we'll be doing an off-air tonight.
Tubies,
gotta look at the news tonight.
The Rumblies, all that happy joy. Yeah, full-blown transmission tests.
Okay, why passkeys or biometrics period or just no strong long password 2FA? I'm not opposed to passkeys. I'm just opposed to how Microsoft is trying to push passkeys, right?
Yeah.
Because passkeys are good. It's just when they're forced on you, embedded into a module on your computer and you are unaware of it, that's the problem. So I'm not opposed to passkeys in principle. I'm just opposed to how Microsoft is implementing them. And for that matter, like Google and other places, because once you have that Windows 11 and that TPM module, every place wants you to set up a passkey and they're all storing it in the same spot. These passkeys got to be stored somewhere. And people don't realize the passkey is tied to a little disposable module on your computer.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. If you know what it is and you're manually setting up, multiple passkeys, multiple ways to get in. But as one commenter on one of my videos rightly said at one point in time, he said that, that you always have to have a backup way to get in. So this whole idea of pushing passkeys for more security in and of itself is hogwash because you always have to have that alternative way in, right?
Yeah.
My opinion is they're just setting up a whole bunch of chaos.
Well, that's true. Obviously.
And the whole thing, and it's like, was it the TPM module itself and stuff like that? It's like, they make the little module and there's a header on the motherboard and stuff like that. But for the sake of cost effectiveness, the processor manufacturers are just including a TPM something in the actual processor to bypass the need for a piece of hardware, and that's just for the sake of cost effectiveness. In my eyes, and I'm like, okay, well, if you got it there, then why get a module? Well, if it's there, go ahead and get the module anyways. That's
that's the old way of doing things. Now all the motherboards for the last couple of years come with the TPM 2.0 right on them.
They have to, or they won't have Windows 11 on them.
Exactly.
Yeah, ever since Windows started toting 2.0, they've been putting them right on the motherboard.
And I'm not opposed to even setting up your Linux computer using a passkey on your TPM module. There's reasons for it. It's the ignorance of the people that is not a bad way. I'm not saying you're all ignorant fools. What I mean by that word, which is the more precise word, you don't know what's going on. If you don't know how that is being implemented, it's going to bite you when that module goes bad. You have to have an alternative way into your accounts. Now, it's not as horrible if that's the way to get into that computer, because if that computer goes bad, it doesn't matter anyway. But if your Google account is tied to the passkey on the TPM module on your Windows 11 computer, and you don't even know that, you don't know where it's at, and that's the primary means to get into your system, you have locked yourself out if your computer takes a dump, and that's a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, lightning strike any of them bad things that can happen.
Yeah.
Now, VirtualBox also has TPM enabled also. There's a checkbox for that.
Yeah. So I don't know, maybe it's something to test with, but again, I mean, you can use, and here's let's not to point out a problem without giving you a solution. KeyPass XC can manage all these passkeys, and you can have multiple passkeys into a system. So you can go onto, let's just say, for example, your Google account, and you want a passkey on there. Well, you can tie a passkey into your KeyPass XC, even if that's just a backup. Even if you create a passkey into one giant archive and you never actually load that archive, it's just, I'm locked out of the account. Let me go grab my KeyPass XC database from my backup files, load that into your system. That's a passkey that gets you into your system. That works. So like I actually have, since like Friday night, I'll log into my Tux Travel account, check the comments, and watch some van life videos on Friday night. So I set up passkeys. We have passkeys set up in a couple different places. One of those passkeys is stored on my OneKey drive here. So now it's just a simple button. I plug the OneKey, it's the only key in there. You plug the only key in there, you hit the button, and it just fills out my username, hits the next button, tells it to use the passkey, and then prompts me for the PIN for the only key device. Hit the PIN for the only key device, boom, I'm into the Google account. Super easy. But if that key happens to go away or die or lost or stolen or something like that, if that were to happen, then I can still get into that account using other MFA tied to one of the two YubiKeys that's on it. There's multiple ways to get into the accounts, and that's what you should set up, but you should always set them up with a logical process. And I like the KeyPass XC as always having your backup passkey through that, because it assures that if something happens to your primary means, you can still access your accounts.
Is it possible that Google can go in and change your passkey key without you realizing it, and you get a different key?
So each passkey is stored on the one particular location it's at. So you have to lock it with either biometrics or a PIN. So when I plug my only key in and I tell Google to access it, the PIN is tied to the place the passkey is stored. It's not tied to anything with Google, so it's independent of Google.
Oh my God, this is getting too much. It's almost getting too complicated to even use the internet.
Well, that's
it's
kind
too
of what
much
they want.
trouble. It's too much of a hassle to use the internet to log in.
But here's the problem. It's not a hassle if you just do it the way they want you to do it.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. It's super simple. If you just use Windows 11 and Windows Hello and you just smile at the camera on your phone and it unlocks by looking at your face, you have access to everything you have until you don't. And that's the problem.
But no privacy.
Correct. No privacy.
So
you are also completely authenticated by your face, every website you're in. Yes.
Yeah.
Not happy with that.
TPM problems began when Microsoft first began attempting to gain control over BIOS code. There used to only be 4 BIOS manufacturers. Oh boy. Yeah. Framework having a fingerprint reader as an option goes with what Mint is doing with fingerprint readers. Yeah. Yeah, and again, I'm not fully opposed to it. I actually had a fingerprint reader on a computer that I bought There was nothing to do with a fingerprint reader back then. It was just this really hot device that you actually touch and go, ow! Night of Lights on, greetings. Just saw the live stream. Yeah, we're testing the Starlink dish with the live stream today. So, test out. We have so far dropped a total of 12,696 frames, which is 12.4% of the show. So, Starlink's not as good as cellular sometimes. But I think some of that's the Jitsi on as well, which we have a lot less control over what Jitsi's doing with the network.
Yeah. There's a lot of bandwidth being used up.
Yeah. In fact, that's maybe I should look at what my system is saying is used right now. It's pretty accurate on.
Oh, if you could talk. What are you doing to me?
Yeah. I go over here, subscription.
The satellite's going, I don't know what this guy's doing.
Well, so far today we've used 4.8 gigs today.
That's not too bad.
That's
which
all.
is, you know what? Maybe. Yeah, that's got to be today. Now, Starlink's calendar seems to be off because that actually says June 10th, but it is June 11th, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
All right.
But I am looking at every one of my bars as a day off. So like yesterday I did just a brief test, 1 gig. This is today. I have no earthly idea why this system says it's June 10th. So I guess one of the challenges is Starlink doesn't know what the calendar years are yet. So that's kind of frightening. But
That's fine.
But otherwise, we've used quite a bit of data just doing this. But I could do this 5 or 6 times a month.
Well, you need to
easily
move.
without a big
You need
deal.
to drive across the timeline and go into tomorrow.
I should. That would be fun. I wonder how this thing will respond when I jump into a lot of different places. I don't know. Okay. My normie client's going to have 2 paths, privacy-centric and security-centric. I'm going to let them choose a red pill or a blue pill. Oh, red pill or blue pill? Red pill, everything's super easy. Blue pill, oh boy.
I'll have a green one.
Woohoo! Or you take them both. Take this pill. Did you see this meme? Would you want this pill, this pill? Ah! Take them both. No, you're supposed to take them both.
If you take both of them, you'll be able to see the future.
Yeah, that's frightening.
That'll become a purple people eater.
Oh, there you go. A one-eyed, one-horn flying purple people eater. There you go.
Exactly.
Right? So Lunduk Journal says it's fascinating with Ubuntu dropping X in their release only a couple days after the X org is forked into X Libre, which Red Hat has been working to silence and stop. Looking into more information on that one soon. That sounds fun.
Yeah, Lunduk did put out another one yesterday where I guess a lot of the corporate people that want Wayland actually took Libre X and removed it from a GitLab server and scrubbed it from Reddit. And I mean, there's a bunch of scrubbing on the internet going for this Libre X.
Yeah, Brody replies to that. I think that's a reply for that. The sudden push for Wayland, also known as what's been happening for the past decade, has nothing to do with X Libre existing. Project really cool, but portraying X Libre as what's forcing the hand of the project is nonsensical at best. Read the blog post. I agree with Brody on that. I would say that Ubuntu's push probably had a lot less to do with Red Hat and a whole lot more with GNOME stopping to support X.
Yeah.
I think I'd agree with Brody here. Wayland's not brand new out of the woods. People have been trying to push this for a long time.
Right.
And as much as I would prefer we don't kill back compatibility, which Linux is known for, I still think at the same time it is time for something to drop X entirely. I think Fedora is a good choice. I don't think Ubuntu is a good choice right now. And the reason is that Ubuntu is still, even if it's not the best distribution for new users to go to these days, it still is the one that is, if you do searches on the internet, there's still overwhelmingly amount of stuff pointing towards Ubuntu. If a new user goes to Ubuntu and it's Wayland only, and let's say X Wayland is not properly configured to work with a bunch of X apps, and that's something I want to test. I want to see how that works. Then the challenge we have there is you have people moving over into a very popular, or at least formerly popular, Linux distribution, but then you have a lot of stuff that's not working properly. And that will reinforce people's desire to stay on the systems they are rather than look around. Whereas Fedora's, while it's good for new users these days, it classically hasn't been. So we're not as likely to see as many new users jump over to Fedora. But also, Fedora has been working at going Wayland only for a whole lot longer than Ubuntu. And so their system is better patched for such things. And so in that respect, I think it is a good idea for Fedora to go Wayland only, because it's going to force the hand of more developers to actually get serious about Wayland. I don't think it's a good idea for Ubuntu to be going Wayland only. Now, of course, Ubuntu has said that they still have an LTS that is supported until, 2029, I think? 2027 or 2029. Yeah. So people that need to keep using X still have that option in the LTS, in the current LTS. And if Ubuntu is going to be forced by GNOME into putting Wayland only into their system, they had better get X out of their system in 2510. So I support Ubuntu's timing. I don't think they should do it, but being that their hand is being forced, it is way better for them to do it in 2510 than to try and do an LTS with no back distribution testing it out first. So I mean, okay, their hand has been forced by the GNOME Foundation. We know the GNOME Foundation has lost their mind anyway. Lunduk, you know. Yeah. We know they've lost their ever-loving mind, but since they have, since their ever-loving mind is forced upon us all, well, it's better that Ubuntu gets X out of there in 2510, so they have a distro of testing before pushing it into an LTS.
We have a choice. You have Wayland, which won't let you screen record anything, or you have Microsoft, which has recall that does everything.
Well, there's a few screen recorders that work mostly under Wayland. Like OBS is definitely one that works well under Wayland at this point in time, but it's not as consistent as it was with Simple Screen Recorder. So
I do not think we should. X should not go away. There's a lot of small distros out there for older hardware. Like SysV is still being maintained, even though we have System D.
Yeah,
it's still active and in use for the older computers.
Yeah, and it's not going away everywhere, though. Ubuntu is just dropping it in the main GNOME flagship. All of the other, they're not making the requirement that the community distros also drop it. So if you want to stay with an Ubuntu branch, you can stay with something that's still supporting X. And so, but really their hand is being forced by GNOME, because in GNOME 48, they're trying to deprecate the code. GNOME 49, they're going to not compile it all. It's there. You can compile it with the flags to compile it. But in GNOME 49, X is not in there by default. But on 50, they're literally stripping it all out. And, which is good in that we'll see Linux distributions drop in size again, most likely. This creeping from 2 gigabytes when I started this whole journey a decade ago up to 6 gigabytes now is a little ridiculous, and part of this is because of all of the excess code to run Wayland.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Mark loves SysV, preferred over System D. Does Virtual Manager and MoleRat require it?
SysD is pretty good as long as you have it on a machine that can comfortably run it.
Yeah. Used to set password in the BIOS itself. My laptop wouldn't even hand off the boot anywhere to any installed OS unless the BIOS password was satisfied. Nobody could get in that easily. Can't get Light DM or XFCE to boot on Arch. Really? Huh. I believe my Arch system runs Light DM. I'm pretty sure it does.
Yeah, Manjaro does.
Light DM. Okay, so there's a question here. XFCE is a desktop environment. Light DM is a login manager.
Yes.
So I don't understand the question specifically there, Brian, but if you can clarify. So I guess you're trying to install Arch with Light DM booting into XFCE. Is that what you're trying to do? Does XFCE support, let's see, Light DM. What is the default for XFCE? Or does it care? I don't think it cares.
I don't think it cares either. I mean, I
so
ran...
Cubes I think uses GDM, right? And that's XFCE. Tails, that Tails uses GNOME, and that's GDM. Yeah, I don't know what the default is. I mean, I imagine Linux Mint probably uses Light DM and XFCE for that one. Anyway.
Linux Mint is Light DM. So is Debian.
Yeah. Starlink drop frame rates. I mean, it's going down. We just dropped a few more frames. But in fact, as soon as I started talking about Starlink, the OBS went into the red. All right, it's back up now. Yeah, we've dropped 11% of the frames. And not horrible, honestly.
A buzzard flew over.
Yeah.
OBS is jealous.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Cellular is a lot more consistent. I think it's because it's a lot more mature of a technology.
You know, the antennas are a lot closer.
Yeah. Now, where I'm at right now, I moved over to this little lake right here. We get internet. This is a spot I could not live stream from when I've tried it in the past. And even today, it was on Matrix. What was it? Only like a 3 upload or something right now.
Oh,
right?
wow.
So, not good. I do disable secure boot on my MSI laptop in order to get Linux to work. Yeah, depending on what you were running to, yeah, it depends. Manjaro GNOME boots fine from the latest kernel. It's something to do with XFCE being X, I think. Well, XFCE will not show up on GDM on like Fedora anymore because X does need that XFCE does need the X11, and the GDM on Fedora has gotten rid of everything X, so it doesn't show up unless you run the extra system commands to get it back. I think you need I forget which one it is. It's on my Fedora video. A midday stream, that's right. We are testing Starlink. Start XFCE from the TDY drops back to TDY, okay. Lag would be the biggest concern with satellites. Yeah, that's probably a little bit. Same with Manjaro GNOME on that machine as I've needed AUR for brother scanner drivers. Don't want to deal with dead packages. Yeah, I'm trying to remember, does my scanner... Yeah, I guess my scanner has not worked well under Arch. The ES50 Workforce Epson scanner, that works with Arch without anything, just with kernel drivers. Hello from Mexico, Purple Tiger. Greetings. Love your shows. Been in your streams chatting with you before. Oh, I'll have to check out the show. Or do you do Linuxy stuff? Yeah, I didn't know you had a whole channel there, Low Spec Linux Gaming. Maybe we'll check you out. Sounds fun. How's the microphone sounding for the people listening in on the show? You guys on the Jitsi, you can't comment. You're on the same microphone you're always on.
Right.
Boo.
Yeah. Multiple microphones over here. We're testing out, this is I think it's Hollyland, I think it's called. Yeah, these are Hollyland microphones. I've actually been using these for a couple years on my other channels for cell phones, cameras, pre-recorded stuff gets done with these. So I've used them on the channel before, but I'm testing them in an implementation with the live show, just in the event my main microphones go belly up. So just seeing how they work. That because I was getting rid of some, like I had a Snowball Ice in here as a backup microphone, but I decided to give it to my friend to sell on Marketplace or something. And then I had some old microphones in here as well that just weren't as good either, so sell those off as well.
Yeah,
that way, as long as this works, it's good. Just game mostly old stuff from 2000s. Nice. So that's close to the games I like to play. It's too new though. 2000s games? Oh, way too new. Soul Blade, Twisted Metal 3. Those are the ones I played from that era. You got to get back to the old classic Nintendo for me. I mean, that's...
the early 16-bit stuff.
8-bit. Old Nintendo was 8-bit.
Yeah, 8-bit too. Yeah.
16 was Super Nintendo, which we never had, and I'm not even sure I've ever played a Super Nintendo, honestly. Once or twice maybe, but
I know, it's like me. I've got my Atari VCS, the recent one. I've got that all set up.
Yep.
It's also a Linux computer. You can run Windows. It can play, YouTube, Pandora, Netflix, all that stuff. It's got a Ryzen processor. Woohoo!
Oh. My USB keyboard just went crazy on the graphene tablet. Let me see if there's... See what else is going on over here on Twitter. Monitoring Twitter and a bunch of other things.
Tweeter.
Yeah.
Now known as X.
Yeah, I'm not sorry. I'm dead naming. Ask me if I care.
Yeah. Will be squashed by Wayland.
Oh dear. There's some commentary that the new app, which looks really cool. Somebody posted up on Matrix the other day, the new iOS with all the glassy look. I think it's slick. Not slick enough for me to switch back to Apple or anything, but it looks nice and slick. But it was criticized as looking like Windows Vista Aero. And so there's a picture of it has the Windows logo with a little thing up there to make it like an apple. And they crossed out all the letters in Windows except iOS. So it says iOS Vista.
There you go. Yeah, it looks a lot like the Aero theme.
What's that again?
The new iOS, it's got that glassiness to it. It's a lot like the old Aero theme.
Yeah, I thought it looked cool because I really like the skeuomorphism type stuff. I don't like these modern flat icons we have all over the internet. They make me want to vomit.
Sam Time actually did a video on that. It's hilarious.
Oh really? Yeah, I think the look is nice, but I don't know. Upload speed is only 5, so I'm stuck at 720 streaming for now. Not sure what the repeater will actually support if I move up in plans. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, I was doing 720p for streaming for 4 years just because of extra bandwidth. I just decided, I'm gonna at least for this summer we're gonna keep at 1080p. Until I start traveling around again and see what type of internet speeds, mostly because there's this massively new tower right down from where my regular parking spot is. Let's see.
Towers of fun.
Oh, you know what? I did run. I did actually get the Brother printer working with AUR as well.
Oh, good.
At one point in time. Sound is really clean, clipping only extremely times. Yeah, I am noticing that I'm peaking now. I wasn't peaking earlier, but I'm peaking now. So I'm apparently becoming a Peking duck. So let me roll my system down a little bit here. Okay, I'm going to drop my max dB. That will stop the peaking as much. Yeah, I had to roll my dB up to like 8.
Are you clipping your microphone?
Yeah, I was, and there, so I just clipped it again, but that's okay. Parents were too cheap to get a SNES. Didn't get one until I started working. Yep. Built both my desktops at home for gaming on a budget. There you go. So I can have 2 computers here instead of just one. Home office for high frame rates, and the game room with big TV and couch experience. You go. Wayland, just when it gets the next update, will get you buggy again. Yeah. Apple went back to Windows Vista. Yeah. Windows should have never done away from Aero. I agree. I thought Aero was beautiful. I thought I'm crazy like that. I'm insane. I'm not a trendsetter, but you know. In fact, I think I'm the opposite. I'm a don't fall for that trendsetter. Stick with where you are. You won't go broke that way. Yeah, Aero was definitely a resource hog. That is definitely true. So it was ahead of its time, but Vista was ahead of its time in many ways. You know, most of the problems people have with Vista was the system requirements was higher than the average computer shipped with at that time. So.
Yeah, being the resource hog that it was, yeah, people had a lot.
It's kind of like what's going on today when they're trying to push Windows 11 out and people don't have the hardware to run it.
Kind of, yeah. Maybe Microsoft is way better than we give it credit for. They're just ahead of their time.
Right, yeah. They're like, hey, we got the latest and the greatest and blah, blah, blah. You'll catch up to us some year.
Yeah.
They need to go cater to the quantum computing crowd.
There you go.
Yeah. So the phones, yeah, that one says it'll be ready in 23 minutes. This one says it's going to be done in 8 minutes. And my device here can now run for 4 more hours at this. So that charged two Graphene OS phones, and my battery bank is still at 79%. So
not bad.
I'm gonna use that, run things down a little bit, and then charge it up later. So, all right, 1 core system, 1 gigabyte RAM. Yeah, and the minimum requirements for Vista was 1 gigabyte of RAM, but the computer I bought, because it was the only one I had money for, only had 500 gigs of RAM. So they were literally shipping computers with less RAM than was the system requirement. Needless to say, they never worked.
That's the corporate overlords for you.
Right, the old Windows XP icons for Firefox and Chrome look great and actually have style. Yeah, absolutely. Extreme off-grid mountainous terrain. Nice. Sweet. Yeah, I'm hanging out by a lake right now in my van.
It's extremely hot here now and humid.
Yeah, it's 31 out. I could probably open the window behind me and be fun, but I just don't know if there's too many people around here by the lake pull out.
It's like a balmy 85 here with a humidity of 80%.
Yeah, I'll have to fire up the AC after we get off of this transmission. But
mine's been running ever since this morning, because if I don't catch it first thing in the morning, it'll try and play catch up all day long just to be comfortable.
Yeah, well, mine's just a few feet away. It's like right up there, and I don't want to get that noise over the microphone.
I think we'll probably wrap it up. Yeah, unusual to see you at this time. Hope everything's doing well. Absolutely, Error 42. Yeah, we're testing out Starlink. We've dropped a total of 16,207 frames. 11.2% of the show was stolen by the Starlink satellites. But tested out. I'd say though it's a successful test. I'm not noticing anything major bad here. But yeah, and maybe when we're done with our campgrounds, maybe I will attempt to do more midday shows. Have something a little bit more rigorously planned. That would be fun. Let's see. Ran across a good YouTube video illustrating operations of phased array antenna Starlink uses and how it interacts with satellites. Phased array antenna evolved from old Soviet space tech. I knew it. He's a Nazi.
There you go.
Yeah. All right, we're going to wrap up here. That way I can take care of some work. We will do an offline hangout later on today. we'll chat the news and see what's going on from there. So if you guys are supporters and want to hang out for that about 7 tonight Eastern, we'll do that. All right, and I think we had a pretty good successful test. So it looks like if I do perch my van at the very top of a mountain somewhere out west with not a cell tower in sight, I think we can still do a live stream. That's awesome. Looking forward to it.
Sweet.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging out, everybody, and we will see you guys. We will have weekly news roundup tomorrow night at 8, which is Thursday the 12th at 8. So stick around for that. And then starting next week, I have no idea how many videos we're going to have or how few videos we're going to have because we have all sorts of weird stuff going on. All right.
There you go.
All right, guys. We'll catch you later. Have yourselves a fascinating Linux